I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and we are approaching the conclusion of the international qualifiers for the 2026 Carcassonne Champions League. And tonight, or today if you're in the Western Hemisphere, or this morning if you are in East Asia, we're gonna have ourselves some battle between two reigning Carcassonne national champions, both masters, a fight for survival in the first international qualification tournament designed for national online champions of established participating countries. So, our player number one is none other than David Faraci of the United Kingdom, known by his screen name as Lord Terrycloth, the mastermind behind Carcassonne.uk website, a master, national champion of the United Kingdom, a participant in the World Championship as well, where he finished the middle of the pack. Currently has 2,000 games of experience on this platform, but many, probably 10 more thousand games of experience on other platforms. And his opponent today is none other than Daniel Ayala, also master of board game arena, also a champion, this time of United States. No, why did I say it like this? Of United States. Yes, that's how I should say it. And also, very similar story, also participated this year in the World Championship in person, also finished in the middle of the pack, and also moved to a different country to play Carcassonne. As you can see, they have 5,000 games of experience, a similar rating to what David has. But yeah, the story is that David kind of spent a lot of time, grew up in the United States, and then moved to the United Kingdom, after which he started playing competitively. Whereas for Daniel, it is the opposite. Grew up in Mexico and then moved not from, but to the United States to play Carcassonne competitively there. So a lot of symmetries in this matchup. And if y'all are having a deja vu right now, you would be completely correct, because these two have already met on stream earlier a few weeks ago in the same tournament, where David prevailed 2-0, admittedly with a bit of the help from the tile deck. So Daniel will now be looking to recover. But basically, the way the system works, you can see all the grid here. Maybe you can work this by yourself. It's a double elimination system. So we can see, because David defeated Daniel, he sent Daniel to the lower bracket, where he mercilessly, unfortunately, defeated my teammate Napalm. Then, also quite admirably, went past the Japanese master and former captain of Team Japan in the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship with a screen named Snow Island, and now they're here. A similar fate to Lord Terrycloth. At first, he was rejoicing because he defeated Daniel, but then in the next round, he got knocked out by the... well, knocked out, but knocked down temporarily by the Pole with a screen named Tomaszek. He successfully also defeated another master, the Italian with a screen named James81. And now he's here. So it is a bit of a coincidence that these two have themselves a rematch, but it is what it is. Probably David with a bit of a psychological advantage, being the one who won the first time. Daniel, however, also very experienced. I would say quite similar in skill, also in good shape. So really a 50-50 match today. And then, after this, whoever wins is going to advance to the so-called consolidated final against Tomaszek, and whoever wins that match next week, then they will advance to the main stage of the Carcassonne Champions League 2026, along with Pavel Hudets, the victor of this entire tournament bracket. And the loser, of course, will be regrettably but inevitably eliminated. Hope it covers everything, and we should be starting in due course. So it appears that at the very least the table has been created. Hi Amorphos, hi Napalm, hi Sparkle Horsey, hi Azir Alma, hi Glavir. Good to see you here. By the way, also earlier today we passed another milestone of 1,600 subscribers, which I greatly appreciated. So whoever was the 1,600th, thanks to you. Right, have we started? Yes, and I believe we have. I really don't want to miss the start of this. So game started 0 minutes ago, and only the first move has been made. Daniel Ayala with his traditional blue meeples, Lord Terrycloth with his traditional camouflagey green, going for a bit of an unorthodox defense. It's quite a common, actually, way of responding. There are some lines where the quadruple city tile gets discarded, and then green gets to have the starting player advantage, but none of this, of course, happens. Daniel will have the starting player advantage, at least for now. Both players are starting new cities in various locations. The first road tile of the game for green, easy decision to go here. This is what they're going to do, I presume. Not really nothing much to think about. They chose to meeple this road, which is definitely legit, but a bit aggressive. This is the type of move that players like Spain's Estroncio do, for example. I generally avoid a meeple there, just because there are some scenarios how you can nicely block your opponent. And the purpose behind this meeple is just to control the road, because let's say if your opponent gets a dagger tile, they would be able to meeple this loop road, but the upside of potentially blocking the square, I think, ever so slightly, marginally, makes it worth to make such a move without a meeple. But overall, decisions like these are kind of an unexplored territory in Carcassonne openings. As for most moves, you can sort of, if not mathematically, but at least somehow logically show how one is better than another. This one is really, really close. So I think if we were to turn on a computer simulation or something, like the decision to place a meeple or not to place a meeple over here, they would sim within 1 percentage points of each other. Of course, before we develop a powerful Carcassonne AI, all of that is just speculation. In the meantime, important developments as blue gets a wonderful 4-point monastery to control some space and green city, and green jumps right back at him with a monastery of his own. A clutch pull from David. Still a tie on the scoreboard. Daniel now continues his road indirectly, which is quite interesting. So normally what you make in these positions is that you make a move like this and you try to kind of go to this square, which I think I would still do. But the reason why green does not want to make the usual move with turning the road like this is because if this square gets blocked, he's going to lose 2 meeples against just 1 meeple of blue. Against just 1 meeple of green. But long story short, despite that, I believe it would have been worth it, just because it would have denied David, this opportunity of continuing his city and then covering it up nicely. Daniel now tries to do something about David's city at the top, but David draws the tile to get the first points on the scoreboard. 6 points go to the Brit, or the American, I'm not sure how you're going to call them. Actually, I have a decision, so I'm going to call them by just the countries that they're representing, normally in team competitions. So David represents the United Kingdom these days, and I will refer to him as the British player, and Daniel represents his country of origin, normally in competitions. In team competitions, at the very least, he represents Mexico. Players, of course, who reside in country other than the country of their citizenship typically have a choice whether to represent the country where they're currently living or the country where they hold a passport in. It's a whole story. Anyway, so we have also the first points on the scoreboard for Daniel, which I think are a little bit impatient. I don't think you want to give this precious rodent to your opponent. If I were blue, I would have just gone here, started a new city, and then finished this here city with something later. But Daniel decided that first of all, it's time to get on the scoreboard, and second, that this extra farmer with some nice completed cities on the farm, some green squares for further development, would be sufficient compensation for giving away a rodent to your opponent. Also, the extra monastery will help This is a very nice cluster, kind of equalizing the monastery of green, which is quite important. Blue has almost finished his main monastery for 9 points. Equalish position, one in which I slightly prefer blue over green. This farmer, however, is a bit extravagant. It is for 0 points. And the idea of this farmer, of course, is over here, but still feels a tad premature to me because I can certainly see how Daniel might have to use meeples in other places. So let's say if he gets a Dorito instead of a city cap, he might have to go here. His meeple might, be a little bit apprehensive there. If a monastery is pulled, then somebody needs to go here, so blue might need to spend a meeple here. And in some scenarios, blue starts being a little bit short on meeples. These scenarios are not frequent enough, so I presume that Daniel really liked the efficiency here. But now we also see how the quality of this field has deteriorated a little bit as Lord Terrycloth City is being blocked here a little bit, or at least delayed. Then if this square gets blocked, there's some scenarios how green can just build a big ruin for, I don't know, 10 or more points. And also crushing the green squares around the field. Instead, the green draws a monastery, which is also wonderful for them. They manage to equalize both of the monasteries of blue. Actually, look at this interesting pattern, the double diagonal setup. I haven't seen this one in ages. And but most importantly, of course, that the monasteries are all equal each other, that neither side will get a significant advantage here. This square, however, is a little bit vulnerable. Daniel could actually now go here and start blocking it. This wouldn't be entirely crazy. I think still not quite worth sacrificing the points. Yeah, something like this does make a lot of sense. You just cover up the road on one side. Maybe I would have been a bit more aggressive, as Daniel would have preferred going here, perhaps, taking 2 points, continuing my road indirectly all the way through here, and then pressuring this here square a little bit. Daniel is now probably going to score 3 points at the top, disrupting the monastery square, and most importantly, getting 3 points. Or, we could also go here, finish up the road on one side, and create inconveniences for both of our opponent's cities. This is a strong option. And he finds the move. Very nicely spotted from the Mexican master. There was also a third alternative to go here and start breaking this city plus monastery combo, but this decision, I believe, is the strongest. And David now feeling a little bit uncomfortable, places his last meeple on a monastery with the idea that he wants to get a meeple back with a curve and then maybe score with more points for a curve. The blue player starts blocking green. Green gets an extension for his monastery. Green now thinking whether to take these 4 points. And I think the answer might be yes, but then you really don't want to give your opponent a meeple back, even though you get your meeple back yourself. Because the idea with keeping Lord Terrycloth without meeples for a while just means that they will be losing a bit of value. So imagine if a city cap is drawn by Lord Terrycloth before he gets a curve, then he will be forced to just discard the city cap and not get the points for the curve. And even now, he got this crossroads, but because he didn't have meeples, he was only able to get the 4 points from the main road, and he did not have a meeple to collect the 2 points from the secondary road. So this move has sort of kind of paid off. How do you say this? I don't know how you say this. Okay, another exceptionally interesting tile here for David. Daniel found a lovely road move over here, trying to go all the way around, go score himself some points. This restriction is not a big deal at all. In fact, it kind of helps green a little bit. But green now has a tile which he needs in several places. So let's go through the options. And this is a lovely option. He's covering up his city, leaving still 2 tiles that fit here. And these two tiles will also shorten the road of blue and also shorten the field of blue. And most importantly, avoid the dangerous scenario where blue gets a road Dorito, finishes his road, but leaves the city meeple of green stranded. Now, either green finishes his city and blue finishes his road, or neither player gets to accomplish their objectives. David gets 3 points for the road and 9 for the monastery and a meeple back, and now a lovely, lovely situation here for green. The field meeples of Daniel now look rather uncomfortable, but the long-term meeple advantage still belongs to blue, because blue is going to recover a meeple from this here monastery quite soon. Green still has to work for all of his 3 monastery squares. This here city could get blocked from this side, perhaps sometimes from this side. And this city by Lord Terrycloth is going to be not finished anytime soon, if ever. This move by David is interesting. So it blocks this here square. And on one hand, it kind of exacerbates his meeple disadvantage because it also blocks this here square. But David figures that this city was too hard to finish anyway. He's just going to use it as a dumping ground for clunky tiles and try to make it into a sizable ruin worth 8 points, 10 points, or something like this. And with this move, a city cap is blocked, so green is not able to turn this square into a 7-point asset for his farmer. In the meantime, David has clearly committed to turning this city into a ruin, because moves like these, they restrict the field a little bit. This was the main purpose. And the secondary purpose was that it set up a tile like this, which, of course, David did not end up drawing, but it set up a combo of 4 points, like 2 for the city, 2 for the road. And I guess it's still technically possible if David gets a rose here, and then a rose here, so there's still a way how he can score 2 points for his road whilst continuing his city. Also an interesting decision here from David, where he chooses to just expand the ruin instead of going here, which would signal that he plans to complete the city. I think he still plans to complete this city, but just with a different pattern. So what green has recognized is that there are a lot of triple city tiles already on the board, actually 7 of them, which is most of them. And Daniel now got the last one. And so going for a standard lip-shaped city with a bunch of Doritos and a triple city simply wasn't viable. And so David decides to go for the double Dorito plus city cap pattern, but as soon as he gets the city cap, Daniel quite wisely disrupts the setup. Not completely, though. There are some other completion options available, namely getting a regular vanilla city cap over here, with or without a farmer, and getting one of the 2 splitter tiles. So Daniel's still going to need to watch out. David makes an interesting move, just gets 1 point over here. And now he's going to separate, and he's going to try and finish the city with a dagger, and I think it's absolutely worth doing. Well, I'm not sure about absolutely, because Daniel is expanding his field, he's scoring some points, but still green is overall ahead because of this ruin and because of how much better it is than these fields. So I could definitely see David choosing a lower variance approach and going over here and just simply capitalizing on the 4 points from the city cap. But I like this decision here, because if you try to play too low variance of a game, then sometimes the side with the early field control, which is blue, can just draw a bunch of city caps and develop their field. And so David figures, why don't we just try and draw the dagger, finish a city for 14 points, and just be done with the game. I like that decision. It's a high prop setup, and one which Daniel will need to work quite hard on neutralizing. And I assume well, one of these two squares will be used for that. It's a bit of a subtle choice as to which one you use. But Daniel says, never mind, I just want to get a meeple back. I'll try to block this later. David picks up 3 points from the left. Now complete equality on the scoreboard, but still green is in a wonderful position because of his setups. Daniel, however, reclaims the lead on the scoreboard, gets 4 points, also develops his field. This farmer is now feeling quite well with 9 points, but an easy platform to attack. I presume David is going to use that platform. However, there are alternatives available. For example, this here square is a bit dangerous because somebody could draw an 8-point monastery in that square and then maybe even get a vanilla city cap to complete that monastery. So a low variance move would be going over here and blocking that monastery square. David says monastery is not a big deal. Let's just go for the points. Solid decision here. Yeah, green is playing this one really, really well. Hylias. See, rooting for Mexico as expected. Do let me know if you have any supporters of the United Kingdom to die for some balance. So some interesting things happened. Daniel tried to block in the most high prob way possible. Didn't work, as Lord Terrycloth successfully defended, but Daniel did finish a city and even disrupted the new city of David as well. David currently meepleless, but with a lot of setups. Still 2 tiles that fit into this square, 1 tile for this square, and multiple tiles for this square as well. I can see at least 2 additional tiles, of course. The one starting tile plus the dagger, and then of course some opportunities like this with a road Dorito plus a regular city cap. So still plenty of tiles. The one issue with that is that all of them are city plus road tiles. So really at the moment, green's productivity depends on one type of tile, which is not a great position to be in. But it is what it is. Daniel tries to make some blocks. David can't do nothing much about it. I guess he could protect his city towards a 50-50, but he'll recognize that this is not worth doing. And in fact, another thing that he needs to recognize, is that there are just not a lot of blocking tiles to begin with. So it's completely safe to just build up his ruin, get a point. He can even delay the field's connection because there's still plenty of tiles to connect at the top. We don't need to panic about it. Actually, interestingly, that this city is technically still completable, I believe, although in practice it won't happen. Because this city, to be completed, it needs some of the tiles which are already needed for these here cities. Daniel with a wonderful road move here, claiming 5 points. Which will turn into 7 points upon the completion of this city. And just as David was gonna gets himself his meeple back, Daniel drew one of the very few tiles which allowed him the complete block, and then even later scored points for his farm. Daniel now 12 points ahead on the field. Yeah, this is the deceptive nature of positions like this. It looked like things were very, very good for green, but as soon as the side with the field control draws a couple of city caps, then they just score so much with it. So, for example, these 2 tiles, 11-point sequence. And Daniel gets yet another dagger. So only, well, it's actually the dagger is no longer relevant for this square, but there's still 1 dagger for this here square. This dagger would have belonged here. Yeah, this one is going to come down to the wire, folks. I'm struggling to find the best move here for Daniel. I guess the strongest idea that comes to mind is just simply going over here, possibly meepling the city, possibly leaving it meepleless. I would probably place a meeple here. And the idea is that we get a couple of points, and we also try to expand our road in such a way that it would also expand our field, taking advantage of this extra castle. But yeah, Daniel is probably going to burn his entire time bank. Reminder that we're playing with... Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Lovely setup. And a scoring move from Daniel. Yeah, this surely will seal the deal. The 8-point city in his field is just too much. It's too much. Daniel might even drop some more farmers after this. David developing a nice ruin, but 24 points on the scoreboard. It's too much. And even if green draws the last dagger, which I'm double checking now, and yes, it still exists, he's going to get 2 meeples back, but he's not going to have enough time to use all of them. And he's even going to accidentally add 2 cities to his opponent's field. Well, one by completing city of his own, and the other one by getting this here city connected to this here blue farmer. Yeah, so blue has an embarrassment of riches here. Could go for a 6-point field like this probably. Could just do nothing. Decides to go for the highest scoring move. David gets a meeple back, maybe not quite the meeple that he wanted. But will he do that? I actually don't think that this is a good move even. Because you probably don't want to give your opponent this meeple back. Right? If we go here, we gain 5 points for the city, because we turn a 3-pointer into an 8-pointer. But we also give 4 points to our opponent. 1 for the road and 3 for their field. So it's only a net 1-point gain. You can achieve the same 1-point gain by simply going over here and scoring 1 point for your ruin. And based on the timing patterns of David's move, I believe that the latter option will be chosen by the Brit. Nope, he still wants to give a meeple back for Daniel, so mild imprecision here. This will allow for Daniel to score a little bit more. Probably going for a ruin for 5 points, or straight up for a city here for 3. And threatening to draw the last dagger and complete it. But yeah, the reason why I don't like this move here from David, not that it matters for the outcome of the game. I believe Daniel is just too far ahead on the scoreboard to do anything. Because if David is looking for this here tile, he will actually not be able to use a meeple with it. Because he can't drop a farmer on his field because this field is already occupied. Well, he can drop a farmer on this here field, but this is 0 points. Yeah, and, well, Daniel has many options here. He just needs to go through the tiles, the remaining. He needs to figure out if there's only 1 city cap or 2 city caps in the deck. To the best of my memory, it is just the 1. I think there's some road tile remaining, not sure which one exactly. Actually, I think I think it's a curve, yeah. So it wouldn't be wise to go here, because if David gets a curve, he just blocks. And if David gets a city cap, well, then blue does not get a city cap. Yeah, and blue realizes this goes for 5 points, and David cashes on his setup. Of course, he doesn't, because now this dagger is not even useful for him. He figures that 6 field points is best. And Daniel now gonna go here and equalize this here field. Yeah. So a mild imprecision from David towards the end. This would not have changed the outcome of the game. Got a little bit unlucky with the daggers. This setup was very nice. So let's see what the score difference is. David's actually going to be briefly ahead after the incompleted features are scored. But then the dominance of blue on the field will be a bit too much to overcome. This gambit turned out to be actually quite prescient, as David never really got a chance to get a counter field for himself. Had some good scoring, and had some chances for a fieldless win. But yeah, these farms can be quite powerful with just a couple of city caps. So I remember this 11-point sequence over here. That was quite strong in just 2 moves. And for the first time on this qualification cycle, Daniel Ayala wins against David Faraci. And the score is 1-0 in favor of the Mexicans. So in order to stay alive in the tournament, David needs to win this one right here, right now. The rematch table has already been created. Let's try not miss the start of the second game. Hi, small red van. So. Are we starting yet? I hope so. Daniel has joined the table. And away we go. So David's now going to have the starting player advantage, draws the quad city as the starting tile. Daniel with a standard response, builds a city nearby, slightly obstructing this one. David trying to be efficient, starting a second city in a different part of the board. We're in no rush to continue this guy. Ideally, the pattern here, the ideal trajectory of development is a Dorito here and a Dorito here, and then just ultimately a lip-shaped city. So in game 1, David chose not to build a lip-shaped city when he had the chance, but this is because it was in the middle of the game where the crucial component, the triple city tile, was already out. Whereas in the beginning of the game, it's a completely different situation. In any case, Daniel does not want this city to turn into a threat. He plays a very low variance move of using a shielded tile for invasion. David picks up the first and only road of the game. Daniel finishes the city for 4 points and is now ahead on the scoreboard. David builds up the road. Ideally, he would love to get a starting tile to get himself a city back with a road element. Daniel now starts a new city. And David with a dilemma. Now, the most efficient move is to go here for 4 points. But it's also the most dangerous one, and that's why I agree with David that he chose not to do with this. This 4-point monastery is very good. It still helps out the road a little bit. It has another square for a second monastery. Daniel now has an embarrassment of riches here. It's a lovely tile. So option 1, we could start a new city at the top like this, also obstructing this square. Option 2 is this with the road meeple. I love that idea. Because you see what's happening now. David ideally would like to go over here, and ideally would like to prevent the road connection, but I don't think you can justify this, because this gets blocked so easily, and so David finds a better solution. Starts a new city at the bottom, then it kind of makes it a bit harder to connect, or at least he's preparing some blocking opportunities. Daniel, of course, now probably going to complete the connection, whilst also endangering Green City. Can't really think of other productive moves. In the meantime, Green is also trying to share this here city of blue with 2 shielded tiles on it. Some treasured possessions that the Mexican will go to great lengths to protect. Hi, Dutchnik. So what is Daniel going to do here? Yeah, he makes the natural move after all. Very curious to know what were his other considerations. Maybe some blocking ideas. David with the perfect tile, splitter tile, known also as the second best tile, second most useful tile in the entire deck, after the Road Monastery. At least according to statistical analysis. So what else? Yeah, green invades, of course, the city of blue. Green also covers up his city at the bottom. Note the patience here. We don't use a shielded tile to invade our opponent's city or to complete the invasion. We use it in our own completable unshared city. And a city cap will follow in due course. Daniel's now deciding between going over here and completing this connection, as he's trying to steal the road completely from green. Which, by the way, I shouldn't... Like, it shouldn't be a great concern for green, because he can reinvade the road. If he doesn't, then these here squares help develop him his monastery. So I still like green a lot in this position. Daniel could maybe, instead of doing this, maybe they're thinking of something like this, just starting a new city and then trying to build all the way around here, which would help green's monastery even further. Or maybe what they probably will end up playing is just going over here with the meeple and trying to put pressure on this square. If we can somehow manage to prevent green from completing his 10-pointer, this of course would tip the scales heavily in the Mexicans' favor. A lot of time Daniel spent on this move. He goes instead for his first instinct, and it turns out to be, I guess, correct to a point, as David did get a tile to finish his city, but he finished the most vulnerable, not the most valuable city, which actually does make a lot of sense. David now gets to invade the road and equalize, unless, of course, Daniel draws a crossroad tile, which David probably wouldn't mind, because this road is vulnerable. It could result into the blockage of a meeple. David now pre-finishes his monastery. There's also a lovely idea for blue to reinvade the road like this, and to create a 3 versus 2 majority. Blue now puts pressure in multiple points. Here, trying to block this square. Here, trying to... No! Why are you crazy, David? David is crazy. Is being crazy. Normally, he's not this reckless. I mean, I don't know, like, this invites so much variance in the game. So the defense, of course, makes sense. The defense makes a lot of sense, as there's still 2 tiles that left into the square, and it's kind of a critical square to fill, right? But the meeple on the monastery is so committal that I'm having troubles to believe that this is necessary. Like, does it really help green win this game more often? I don't really think it does, because I can certainly see situations where green draws both of the critical tiles that fit into the square, where blue, I keep doing this, where blue draws both of the road Doritos that fit into the square, but green still manages to win because maybe they managed to control the size of this here big city somehow anyway. But with an extra monastery over here, if we also lose another meeple, I don't know, it seems to be a bit too much. Also, green puts himself in a position where they're going to be without meeples for a while. They could certainly lose value for that. On average, probably they don't lose that much. They lose like 2 points, but it's unnecessary variance in a position where green was ahead, if you ask me. Yeah, and green does get his setup, and you might say, oh, it's so wonderful. But not really, because green just lost the 3 points. Green was not able to meeple this road because green does not have meeples. So is it really worth to have a meeple for here, not trapped, but at least delayed for just 2 points extra? If Daniel can find his best move of going over here and severely restricting this square, then David is in real trouble. Yep, there we go. Just as he was going to complete the monastery. And David, of course, is trying to fight. He will be building his monastery up. Still 3 squares to be filled, though. And Daniel can now get his city meeple back, get an advantage on the scoreboard, and he will even contemplate meepling the road. No, figures the road is a little bit too much. I would do it. I'd do it. I think it's pretty cool. And now we know it would have worked, but Daniel now has an even better idea. Will he spot it? Will he spot it? The idea, of course, is to go over here. Get ourselves the compensation meeple. Making sure that if David gets a dagger tile, one of the 2 dagger tiles that fit into the square, then David would be getting 8 points for Daniel. And let's say if blue goes here, there's an additional threat to it, because blue can get a splitter tile that would not only split the roads, but also complete the city for 8 points, and even create a 9-point field which blue would be able to immediately occupy. Green almost gets himself a meeple back. Blue, however, with some wonderful options now. I think if I'm blue, there's one interesting move which you can play. So the standard idea here is like we go here or here and maybe try to block the square. But one move which I do quite find interesting is to go here and kind of protect this road a little bit. And then depending on what happens to the square, use this opportunity to either simply prolong the road, or if necessary, if the square gets connected, then we go here as blue and we try to re-invade this road from here. Instead, Daniel makes a move that makes sense, but it's a bit more standard. He just creates a blocking opportunity against this square, as it's important to do something about this, as David has 3 of these splitter options available for him, where he could get 10 points in a meeple back. Daniel, however, does not draw a reasonable tile to do something about this. I mean, he could go here, of course, and he could place a second meeple. This wouldn't be ideal because only 2 triple city tiles are available to fit into this square. But he does this anyway, but without a meeple. Okay, this makes actually much more sense. David covers up the city, making sure that if the square is filled, then both players will get themselves a meeple back. So Daniel now can make many interesting things. I think option 1 is we actually go here. We create a big ruin, and being the side with the meeple majority, we're a bit more likely than usual to take advantage of that ruin. Well, this is certainly not option 2. This move just does nothing. It's really not a great idea to do nothing. And of course, this was an option, an interesting one, right? Again, where we get to protect this here square. Well, Daniel with a curve. A move that I'm seeing is here, trying to disrupt the road of green a little bit in the event the road gets separated, and even in the event the road gets connected, really. Again, Daniel has an option to go here, has an option to start a 4-point road, which is a bit risky, but probably worth it, given he's a little bit behind. David has this extra monastery. Yeah, green still has a good position. Not really sure who has the advantage, because a lot depends on this here square. Just a lot depends on that square. David somehow managed to make out alive from this monastery, but it was still exceptionally risky, and the gains were so marginal. Like, he got 9 points, but he lost 3 points from here, and he probably lost a couple more points from not being able to do anything about this setup. Yeah, because the thing is, if green had a meeple in hand, then this move with the extender would not have been possible. Because with a meeple in hand, it would have been just a bad move because you're giving your opponent an extra tile to pick up. But because David did not have meeples in hand, then this move was possible. Yeah, actually, I kind of glossed over this point, but it's quite important to realize. Because these partial blocks can be dangerous if your opponent has meeples, because you're leaving for them value tiles for pickup. As soon as your opponent runs out of meeples, then such a risk is eliminated, and you get way, way more value from your blocking attempt. Something that green had definitely overlooked. Daniel now struggling again with this very annoying setup from David, because once David got himself a meeple back, he's now not interested in finishing this shared city, as his side of the city is bigger. It's 4 points compared to Blue's 2 points, and so now he's trying to pre-block this here meeple. And the way this works is that he wants to draw a road Dorito tile and go over here and connect his road and finish the monastery and prolong the monastery, the city of Daniel, into this square where it's at the very least significantly restricted. This move from Daniel I'm not so sure about. It can certainly lead into some pain, but let's see how this progresses. Lovely move from David to shorten the road a little bit, and I told you Daniel could have prevented that by covering up the road earlier with one of the tiles that he just discarded earlier on. It's not completely covered because there's still one tile that fits here. Daniel now gets some scoring tiles for himself. David starts a new city at the top. And now it's a super interesting decision. Does David go here? And if only he had himself a meeple, he would have been able to go over here, but he does this anyway. He finishes the city for Daniel, he finishes the monastery for himself. Importantly, he brings the roads together, but now it creates a field which Daniel can take. But the question is, do you do it right now? So do you go here and take the field, or do you go here and take the road and gamble for a 50-50 chance of drawing the last starting tile, connecting the roads, winning a huge road for I think 19 points if I'm not mistaken, and also possibly claiming a farmer later? This would certainly be the content move, and you know what? Going for a 6-point road already, with like a 50-50 chance of enormous expansion, seems better to me than going for a 9-point farmer straight away. Because if we do this, this appears game-winning. We can also do something else. We can also just score 2 points here, and then try to fight for a big city. But why do we need to create a fight for a big city where we already have that road thing? Yeah, this one tile seems to be quite nice now. So let's see if Daniel pulls the trigger on it, or just drops a farmer, or just makes a waiting scoring move like getting 2 points in a variety of possible locations. And he goes for the content move! 6 points for the road, potentially 19, potentially some points extra if he gets the critical tile. Now it seems that the game just depends on that tile. I can't even imagine what else David can do. Well, maybe he can just score some more points with his meeple advantage, but Daniel also gets quick point tiles. He can get 3 points himself. Or maybe 2 points somewhere else. Gets himself a 3. Almost equalized the scoreboard, and David immediately gets the critical tile. And with that, the laudable effort of Daniel is not going to pay off. David is 6 points ahead. David is a meeple ahead. And he's just doing too well. I don't think there is anything that Daniel can do realistically. There are some outside chances. And I see that the way he can win is, first of all, just some quick points to keep up. Maybe just going over here, dropping the city cap, or even here actually, dropping the city cap like this. Yeah, that's the best move. And then trying to poke at this meeple a little bit. And then, blue can go here and unify the cities. And then on his last tiles, blue can try and go here and invade the city with like a 25% chance or something like this. And then the city would be very big, which would lead to blue's victory. So this is not over. But these positions are very difficult to play psychologically, because if you're normally just behind, it's kind of easy to realize that your only way back is to risk hard, and then you find your risky setup and you just go for it. But those games where you are doing just fine, and you're already committed to a play, and now you are at a disadvantage because the play to which you committed didn't work, it's very difficult to shift gears psychologically. And this is where we see Daniel slipping. This move cannot possibly be the best move. Starting a new city is completely reasonable, but there is no justification for starting a city in a field which only green can claim, when you could have started a city next to green city to try and obstruct green a little bit. Yeah, so this is definitely almost like Daniel accepting his defeat in a position which wasn't completely decided. Daniel gets a lovely tile, which he cannot take advantage of, and that is why I was telling you the best move was gonna go here, but whatevs. Daniel, I could have gone here, taken 2 points, set up the connection. Ayayayayay. Ayayayayala. "53 seconds, 48 seconds on the Mexicans' clock. I can see 3 candidate moves. We accept the imperfection of this meeple and we just bite our tongue. We go here, we create the big ruin, we hope that we get the city cap later and then the tiles to attack it, and this is what he went for. The alternative was to try and develop this here city on the left, which didn't quite work, which would not have worked, but this tile is good for it. So Daniel now does not get a city cap, but he's going to go here and try to break Lord's city a little bit. David picks up some more quick points. 10 points extra for the Brit. Daniel found his block. David with the full time bank will probably find his easiest move with just simply creating a blocking platform against Daniel's city on the left. Or maybe he could meeple a monastery, but I just don't see how it contributes to his winning probability. He could probably go for the field straight away here, like for 6 points. Assuming it will turn into a 9-point field, he decides against it. Figures there's still quick point tiles in the deck for which he can score. And he is correct in his decision. He gets the 2 points extra from the road. I think now, even if Daniel invades the big ruin, then David can outrun that invasion. Yeah, but I guess what Daniel's going to do now is just roll over and take this 9-point field. The 9-point field which should not have been created in the first place. But maybe we don't roll over. Maybe we just go here and not take the field, and then we still try to invade here. We hope that David just does not notice this opportunity. Because the city here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like over 20, like 24, I believe, when you invade. The road is 6, that's 30, 28. David's going to score 9 for this field and 6 for this, so that's 15. 13 points. Actually, yeah, I think Daniel can win. Daniel could absolutely win if he manages to invade here. And he does something understandable, but something that just doesn't work. Because the idea was to set up a coin flip for a city cap, which he lost. He was trying to score some points for a city, but it's not enough. Like, you need to do the opposite. You need to block the scoring opportunities as blue. And you need to create scoring opportunities for yourself. And he just drew a lovely tile. Unfortunately, this here invasion does not work because we simply have run out of invasion tiles. What he needed to draw was a tile like this, which would have given him the chance to put a meeple here, and then this here tile for the completion of the invasion. This, of course, is too big of an ask. David goes for the 9-point field, so generously created to him by Daniel. Daniel with a 6-pointer, and David with another 6-pointer at the top. We'll finish this game in style. And actually, now that I think about this, okay, so David goes for a different field, then even the long road for Daniel would not have helped, because this here tile would have given him only 13 points extra. Okay, 14 points extra. And I believe that in this position, Daniel lost by more than 14. Of course, some of these points are attributed to the fact that Daniel lost some points due to some desperate moves. But nevertheless, David appeared to have had control over this. 21 points for the Brit, and the score is tied. 1 David, 1 Daniel headed to the decider for all the marbles. The loser gets eliminated. The winner gets advanced to the qualification finals. A new table has been immediately created and filled up. Let's try and not miss the start. Of course, we missed the start. No, we didn't. So who is having... No, what is happening? Yeah, there we go, there we go. Both players have joined, almost identical ratings now. And Daniel Ayala will be the starting player in this decider for everything. Gets one of the best starting tiles with a shield to claim the city. David with a natural response of a 2-point road to at least limit the city somewhat. Daniel is not responding instantly, which makes me think that he might not know this opening. The standard move, and really the only move which makes sense, is to go here, start a loop road, disrupt the road of your opponent, and also indirectly protect this here city. Anything else short of that would be a plain mistake. For example, some tempting moves might involve going over here but this would result into some discarded tiles. Wait. Actually, this wouldn't be so bad. Hey, this is interesting. Check this out. Am I just realizing something? So this is the standard move. But stop playing. Let me talk. Okay, so if these guys, if blue goes here, quit making moves. So if blue goes here, then sometimes, wait. If green were to have drawn this tier tile, green would have been forced to go over here and finish the city for blue. Hey, maybe this is not such a bad idea. Maybe this is what Daniel was thinking about. Right? We go here, and then there's no space for green to place this tile. Green would have been forced to finish the city for Daniel. Hey, I have to explore that idea. Always nice to learn something. Of course, nothing like this happens. Daniel makes the standard move, which is super solid, gets the 4 points, gets the slight advantage. His city gets a bit disrupted by David, but it's whatevs. And Daniel can just simply pick off one of the empty city caps. This move, I cannot possibly understand. It cannot possibly be good. Why do we leave an empty city cap? Just to sort of kind of create a bit of a vulnerability against our opponent. And why does it work? Okay, David gets himself a defense, which is very good for David. His city is now finally protected. 3 tiles that fit over here. We know from game 1 that David is not the best at drawing daggers from the deck, but maybe this is the game where he can redeem himself. The completion of this city will also come with a 4-point monastery. And now that I look at it, the threat was actually kind of dangerous, but then it still seems to me that it's not worth giving up the city cap in the long run. And now we see how David managed just to equalize the city at the expense of a shielded tile, of course. But Daniel, with a wonderful draw of his own, gonna go here, invade the city of Mr. Lord, and try and set up his own city for completion. But he does not do so, but makes another quite wonderful move. Tries to invade this here city and restrict Terry's city at the same time. Unsuccessfully, as the requisite tile is immediately drawn by green. Green will also continue his road right now and maybe even drop a farmer. This is exactly what happens. Blue, however, with the wonderful city setup, one which won him game 1, I believe. No, I'm thinking of a different game. I'm thinking of the earlier match today of Greece versus Luxembourg. I have those mixed up, but basically game 1 of those was decided by Georgios Kyriazidis finishing a city with a very similar pattern, one which had 3 shields. This one's going to have a maximum of 2 shields on it. David gets himself the completion of the road setup. Daniel is trying to poke at this square, unsuccessfully though. Still a lovely shielded tile for himself. He can start a new city, continue his road. This is really the only move which comes to mind. I can see how he would be slightly reluctant to do that, but it really is his strongest option. Still a good position for David overall. For Daniel overall. David has plenty of compensation with the early farmer, with the road which is going to get completed. And the main aspect that makes me favor Daniel here is simply the imminent completion of this here city. However, as we know, sometimes cities like this can stay incomplete for a long time, and sometimes they lead to very painful losses of World Championship finals by 2 points. Yeah, David now makes an impatient move, so it's definitely a mistake. It's an interesting idea to try and create some sort of a blocking opportunity against this square, but what you have to do here for the best probability, you have to be patient and wait for the city tile. Because anything else, especially with the field side, it is just so easy for blue to get a defense. In fact, the only type of tile which wouldn't be suitable for a defense for blue is something like a road Dorito, of which there are not many remaining anyway. By the way, comment on this move. It was a rather interesting idea to try and equalize these two cities. This tile was placed here by blue earlier. But actually, I have to be patient there. And, oh, look at this quadruple city tile gone out. Which is actually very good for David, because now he'll have the advantage in the endgame, because he will be drawing the last tile, because we're now going to have a total of odd number of tiles in the deck, or even, depending if you count the starting tile or not. And that is a game changer. Daniel gets himself another monastery and the lead on the scoreboard. He's doing wonderfully. David, with his second farmer, it's meant to be a compensation farmer against the city. So green is playing the compensation game absolutely excellently here. But yeah, actually, in the 2023 World Championship finals, one of the aspects that won Matt Tucker the game is that he had the patience to wait for a city tile first, and then go here and then create the blocking platform, and then successfully invade over here, equalizing this here city. If Matt would have been as hasty as David were right now, he would have lost that game, because the city would have been defended and easily completed. And moments like this is why you want to study games and study standard situations. I think maybe the reason why David had gone here is that he figured there wasn't anything useful to do with this tile, but I doubt it to be true, because this tile would have fit just absolutely wonderfully over here. A meeple back, expansion of the field. Now Daniel manages to block this here square wonderfully, whilst also protecting his own city. So this here unorthodox idea, which actually I did quite like, I just didn't see it. So that's why I didn't mention it. It did work wonders for Daniel. Now blue doesn't have many options here. Probably going to start a city somewhere or just discard this tile. Oh, maybe actually just going here, creating a city cap next to his monastery, which may or may not ultimately become in green's field, but it's whatevs. Green, however, gets his fields connected, which I believe is the work of Daniel partially. And when a tile is drawn here, if it is drawn, then these two farmers will unite, and they will control, what, like 21 city points? 21 field points. That actually is still a lot. So even if the city gets completed, I think David has a good shot of just plowing his opponents with fields. Yeah, tricky city cap to play. Because let's say if you have meeples, then the standard move is to go here and start a new city, but you don't have meeples. So I don't really know what the standard move here is. We could also go here, just start a new city somewhere else, and then hope to get a meeple back with a crossroads at some point. WF channel is saying, had he not played that field tile, the quadruple city would have been forced to keep that city open and it could possibly have been reinvaded. Yeah, very interesting point. So if this tile would not have been placed, this tile would not have been placed, and then when blue drew the quadruple city tile, and I believe it was blue, then blue would have gone here and green would have had the chance to invade. Admittedly, it's actually quite a low probability consideration, but a consideration nonetheless. Daniel, unfortunately, does not find a good move at all. In fact, he finds, unfortunately, a rather poor move. He drops a city cap in his opponent's field, and he doesn't even get any points for it. And David could easily get a dagger tile here first to take care of this meeple, and then another dagger here to score points from this. So it probably was some sort of a panic move from Daniel, which was completely unnecessary if you ask me. So in the third game, both players are slipping a little bit. Daniel continues his monastery. David makes a move which I don't even know where to even start. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Completely unnecessary and loses him points, but very interesting. So he's trying to build a city here with a road Dorito tile and a city cap. Honestly, it's actually not crazy. It's very high variance. But his idea is that he's not afraid to stay without meeples, because Daniel is going to give him a meeple back if Daniel completes the city in the center. Isn't that interesting? And Daniel does complete the city in the center, and does go up a lot on the scoreboard, but David has a lot on the field. No, I mean, still Daniel's doing just much better, right? He has the monasteries, and he now is going to score more quick points, and it's just wonderful. I guess I see a world. I see a world. I can't. My voice is not that low, but say that in a trailer voice. In a world where green completes this city and this city, green has what? Still only 21 points? It's not a lot of points for such a big field, seemingly. So green goes for more scoring, tries to start a 4-point road at the bottom. This move actually makes increasingly a lot of sense, figuring that David already realizes he will need to catch up on the scoreboard harder. Daniel is now trying to figure out whether it is worth taking 3 points. He chooses to sacrifice 1 point to try and protect his monastery and also limit some scoring options for Lord Terrycloth. But now a wonderful tile for David, who wins the coin flip. For Daniel, sorry, he wins the coin flip. David uses his tile to build barricades, which won't really make such a big of a difference, but Daniel now should clean off the city cap at his opponent's field. He does exactly that. And David now needs to get himself some love, such as this. It's a good tile. Daniel will clean off the city cap. City cap after city cap after city cap will be devoured by the player with the blue meeples. Well, David must cash some sort of setup soon enough. Oh, and it's painful. Daniel with a blocking tile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, there's only 1 tile that's left into that square. So this road meeple is almost blocked, but almost blocked is not blocked. Still a crossroads. Still a chance. Daniel, of course, invades the city at the top, There is, however, one split a tile to finish that city and separate. Also, I maintain that this move at the top is not a misclick. I'm pretty sure that this is exactly what David was intending to do. WF Channel is saying that David does not intend to complete this here city because this would kind of make him lose some value from the farmers. Whilst it would lose the value from the farmers because he would not score for these here cities twice, it would be -6 for these farmers, but it would be +3 for the city, +4 for the road, so already +7, which exceeds the loss by 1 point, and a meeple back. So net 1 point and a meeple back is definitely a productive move, and if David gets himself the requisite tile, he will place it into that square. Yeah, the thing with the field unifications, because like somebody, let's say in a situation where you have like 4, let's say, cities like this, imagine that all of them are city caps, and you have one green meeple here and another green meeple here, then typically you do not want to unify them, because by not being able to score twice so many cities, you will be losing 12 points. But since you're losing only 6 points here, then it will be quite an easy decision for green. So just when it comes to field geometry, the ultimate decider is simply the total point count. And finally, David gets to cash on something. 7 points for the Brit, but also 4 points for Daniel, and he's probably going to take 4 points next to the monastery. Maybe he does not want to get his meeple blocked. Maybe he's actually not going to go for it. We're going to find out soon enough. There's also another danger. Well, in this position, less so, but in generally, if you don't unify your fields, then there's some scenarios where your opponent does something like this, drops a farmer here, attacks and equalizes your field, at least your biggest field. Daniel only up 17 on the scoreboard, still a commanding position, whilst the fields of David are wonderful and they will outscore whatever the difference is on the scoreboard. We need not forget that Daniel has 2 monasteries, which are already scoring 14. Alrighty, so Daniel chooses not to take the 4 points in order to not make his monastery too vulnerable, but David gets the last crossroads and a meeple back, only 11 points down on the scoreboard. Daniel, with a clutch block of a shared road, does not allow David to take 4 easy points. Clutch find here from Daniel, as my first thought would have been to just go over here and grab a monastery point, which would have resulted into the loss of this road. Mr. Lord, currently with 9 points on the secondary field and 18 points on the main. Actually, he's coming quite closer now. The position is very, very close to equal. Daniel is ahead like a couple of points. Now a little bit more so after he gets a valuable meeple back. And a valuable dagger. No. No. Why this? Okay, I can see why, but like this logic just doesn't check out. It gives a meeple back to David instead of giving back a meeple to Daniel. And I see that Daniel wanted to unify the fields. But again, the gain is like not that great from that. And now Daniel's going to try and block David's city. There is a rather reliable way to do that, though. Well, is it reliable? Yes, it is. Because we're out of left-handed daggers, and we're out of roses and out of starting tiles. So if we just go here, it should be a complete block. David, however, still has an opportunity to draw a dagger, and then David's just going to go here for a 4-point city. Yeah, this is also a common pitfall, because I think that in Daniel's mind, he was trying to finish this here city because he thought that he would be taking away this 4-point... Okay, rather serious mistake from Daniel, really, really serious mistake, that he just gives green a chance to complete his city. Why would he do that? Because there's still a dagger tile that fits here. There's still one of those. Or am I going crazy? I don't think I am. Yeah, it appears just like another dagger asymmetry hallucination. The correct block, of course, was turning the other side. Daniel's clearly getting tired. But yeah, basically, let me finish my point. So his idea was that, okay, I'm going to go here and so that I get the 4-point road and my opponent doesn't. But then, if you're afraid of green drawing this tile, then green's going to get 4 points anyway, just for this here city. So it doesn't matter if green gets 4 points for this road or for the city. The outcome is going to be the same, except that if you fill this hole for your opponent, all the points are the same, but green gets a meeple back earlier. And that's the key. This is going to be the factor that decreases the winning probability for Daniel. Hi, Tomaszek. So yeah, ultimately this was indeed like a 7-point move in the moment and giving a meeple back to green, but like getting 3 points for yourself and a meeple back is worth kind of 7 points actually, or just getting 4 points and no meeple back is also the same or even better. Daniel meeples a 4-point road, and David is going to cash on his setup because Daniel made a mistake with his block. And now he's going to he needs to meeple the road. He needs to realize that he has to meeple the 1-point road because otherwise he'll run out of meeples. Daniel now really looking for a Dorito tile or something to get himself a meeple back. Will he get it? He does not get it. But he gets some lovely points for this here part. Mr. Lord now probably wants to take this ruin. Oh, it's going to come down to the wire. With green having the advantage, I believe, because his field is now 27. Daniel with a scoring tile. He's going to get 4 points extra, 3 points for the city, 1 point for the monastery. It is better than simply getting 3 points here by equalizing. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, no, it's all good, it's all good. Does get the points and the lead on the scoreboard. Lord Terrycloth with a scoring tile can score 3 in a variety of locations. Just needs to not do anything silly in the next 2 minutes. 3 ways to score 3 points. City on the left, city on the right, or city at the bottom. City on the right it is, and the points are going to be counted. Good Games is saying Daniel, who gets 8 points for the ruin. David, 3 points for his ruin. Daniel, 6 points for the monastery, now ahead 25. Daniel, 4 points for the road, now ahead 29. David, 4 points for the city, now behind 25. Daniel, 4 points for the city, now ahead 29. David, 4 points for the city, now behind 25. Daniel, 1 point for the city, now ahead 28, 26. I can't count. Lord Terrycloth gets 3. Daniel gets 1. Lord Terrycloth gets 1 for the road, and now time to count the giant field. It is 27 points, and it will put David up 4, who in a clutch comeback fashion will take this match for the second time this qualification cycle, defeating the reigning champion of the United States. Hi, Divaka. Yeah, quite interesting, really. Some key decisions toward the end. I think, honestly, it seems to me that, like, Daniel started great in the first game especially, but then kind of slipping towards the end, especially this here move, which is a very, very simple miscalculation, because, like, you turn it the other way around, the city never gets finished. And David simply doesn't get this much. Instead of getting... So what? So he got 8 points for this move. So 4 points extra for finishing the city, 3 for the field, and then 1 for the road. With this here move, he would have gotten just 4, getting this here quick points. So this is already 4 points right there. And then also there was this idea of kind of giving a meeple back to Lord Terrycloth too early, not finishing his own city, and also getting a bit of unlucky with this here setup, which had plenty of opportunities to be cashed. But at this level, sometimes it takes just a tiny imprecision, and it leads to the loss of a match. David with a clutch comeback. First of all, a bit being impatient with this here city, but then regaining the starting player advantage after the quadruple city tile was discarded, and then drawing nice, lovely, lovely compensation farmer, which was too difficult for Daniel to deal with. Okay, let's see if there's going to be some post-mortem analysis. To Daniel, we're going to say thanks for participation and better luck next year. For David, all is not over. He's actually going to need to withstand his most difficult test yet, as he's moving on to the lower bracket finals, where he's going to be playing Tomaszek, I believe, who won against him 2-0 already in an earlier qualification stage. Hi, Amorphos. Congratulations on your win. Yeah, so I see there's some discussion in the chat, so just a reminder to y'all that Daniel is originally from Mexico, and he even, I think, finished highly once many years ago, I think second or something like this in the Mexican National Championships. Then he's moved to the United States and competed in the United States National Championship ever since. But in team tournaments, he represents Mexico. So in individual tournaments, Daniel represents the United States, at least in in-person tournaments. In online tournaments, he represents Mexico. This is always a thing with... a different... this is always a thing where you move countries. It kind of complicates things for the Carcassonne and Mind Sports world a little bit. Lord Terrycloth is not going to do any post-mortem analysis, just getting some support from his teammates in the chat. And, yeah, what else there is to say? 。 . 。  . 。 . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . 。 . . . . . . . 。 . . . . . . . . . 。 . . . Oh yes, of course, I need to tell you about future updates. Yeah, we're just gonna look real quick at this here brackets, confirming that Lord Terrycloth is advancing to Tomaszek for the consolidated final, which will decide who's going to participate in the main stage of the Carcassonne Champions League. But just an announcement for tomorrow, the last broadcast of the year, at least for my channel, is going to happen. Together with a special guest, we'll be covering an extremely high-level matchup between two top 8 masters, David Bourdois of Catalonia, with a screen name Devdin, and Taelong Huang. I think I butchered the tones, but I think it's close enough. I'm really trying to learn Chinese name pronunciations. So Taelong Huang of Taiwan, with the screen name Penguinium. This is tomorrow at 1400 UTC, or a few minutes before that. The best way not to miss that is to subscribe to this channel for more competitive Carcassonne content like this, and to click the bell notification icon so that you don't miss the stream. And of course, if you liked anything about today, make sure to meeple the like button, for the algorithm helps more than you might think. On that note, we will be wrapping up. And thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.